The village of Yamada was alive with excitement. As the wedding day of Prince Ikenna and Princess Nneka approached, every corner of the village was filled with preparations. The streets were adorned with colorful banners and flowers, while the sounds of drums and flutes echoed through the air as musicians practiced for the grand celebration. Women gathered in the village square, cooking large pots of traditional dishes, and children ran around, laughing and playing. The villagers were proud of their prince and looked forward to the union that would strengthen their ties with the neighboring kingdom. However, amidst all the joy, one person was not looking forward to the wedding: Prince Ikenna. Ikenna spent most of his time alone, walking through the palace gardens, lost in thought. He knew his duty as a prince, but his heart was heavy. He loved Ogechi deeply, and the thought of marrying another woman, even a princess, felt like a betrayal of his own feelings. Ogechi was struggling to keep her emotions in check. She tried to focus on her duties, but her mind was elsewhere. She couldn't stop thinking about the prince and the bond they had formed. Every time she saw the palace staff preparing for the wedding, it felt like a knife to her heart. She knew that loving Prince Ikenna was dangerous. Not only was he promised to another woman, but she was also just a maid, and the gap between their social statuses seemed insurmountable. Yet, her feelings for him were strong, and she could tell that he felt the same way. As she went about her tasks, other maids whispered about her behind her back. They were jealous of how close she had become to the prince, and they resented the attention she received from him. Ogechi tried to ignore them, but their words added to her already heavy burden. One evening, after much inner turmoil, Prince Ikenna made a decision. He could no longer keep his feelings hidden. He sent a message to Ogechi, asking her to meet him in the palace garden after sunset. The garden was quiet, bathed in the soft light of the full moon. The air was cool, and the sweet scent of flowers filled the night. Ogechi arrived, her heart pounding with anticipation. When she saw the prince standing there, waiting for her, she felt a mix of joy and fear. Ogechi, Ikenna began, his voice filled with emotion. I can't go through with this wedding. My heart belongs to you, and it always will. Ogechi's eyes welled up with tears. She had dreamed of hearing these words, but now that they were spoken, she didn't know how to respond. But, my prince, she said softly, you are promised to Princess Nneka. The village expects you to marry her. How can we defy tradition? I don't care about tradition, Ikenna replied, his voice firm. I care about you. I can't marry someone I don't love. We will find a way to be together, even if it means leaving everything behind. Ogechi was overwhelmed. She loved him too, but the idea of abandoning their lives and defying the powerful traditions of their people terrified her. Yet, when she looked into his eyes, she saw his determination, and it gave her strength. "If you're willing to risk everything for us," she said, "then I will stand by your side, no matter what." The next day, Ikenna sought out Obai, the captain of his guards and his most trusted friend. Obai had always been loyal to the prince and had stood by him through countless battles. Ikenna knew that if anyone could help him, it was Obai. "I need your help, Obai," Ikenna said as they walked through the palace grounds. "I cannot go through with this wedding. I love Ogechi, and I want to be with her. But the only way we can be together is if we leave Yamada." Obai was shocked. He had never imagined that the prince would consider such a drastic move. "My prince," he said cautiously, "you know that this is a dangerous path. The elders will not accept your decision lightly. They will see it as a betrayal of our traditions and could retaliate." "I know," Ikenna replied, "but I cannot live a life that isn't mine. If I marry Princess Nneka, I will be living a lie, and I cannot do that to myself or to Ogechi." Obai could see the pain in Ikenna's eyes. He had always admired the prince's courage and sense of honor. If Ikenna had made up his mind, Obai knew he couldn't stand in his way. "If this is what you truly want, my prince," Obai said, "then I will help you. We must plan carefully and leave before the wedding day. We cannot afford to make any mistakes." Ikenna was relieved to have Obai's support. Together, they began to plan their escape. They decided to leave the night before the wedding, under the cover of darkness. They would take only what they needed and head for a distant village where they could start a new life together. Meanwhile, Princess Nneka had arrived at the palace and was getting ready for her big day. She was a beautiful and regal woman, and the villagers admired her grace and poise. However, she had noticed something strange about Prince Ikenna whenever they were together. Ikenna seemed distant and distracted. He would often find excuses to leave their conversations early, and he rarely smiled. Nneka began to feel uneasy. She had heard rumors about a maid who had caught the prince's eye, but she had dismissed them at first. Now, she wasn't so sure. One day, while walking through the palace corridors, Nneka overheard two maids talking in hushed tones. They were gossiping about how close Prince Ikenna had become to Ogechi and how the prince seemed to prefer her company over anyone else's. Nneka's suspicions were confirmed. She decided she needed to find out more about this Ogechi and why the prince was so taken with her. Princess Nneka wasted no time in arranging a meeting with Ogechi. She requested that the maid come to her chambers, where they could speak privately. Ogechi was nervous, but she had no choice but to obey. When she entered Nneka's chambers, she was met with a cold, piercing gaze. Nneka did not waste time with pleasantries. "I know about you and the prince," she said bluntly. "You may have his attention now, but remember your place. You are a servant, nothing more. He belongs to me." Ogechi felt her heart race. She tried to remain calm, but the fear and sadness in her eyes were evident. "I never intended to come between you and the prince," she said quietly. "But love is not something that can be controlled." Nneka's expression hardened. "You may think that love will protect you, but you are mistaken. If you do not stay away from him, there will be consequences." Ogechi knew Nneka was serious. The threat hung heavy in the air, and Ogechi realized that the princess would do whatever it took to secure her place by Ikenna's side. As Ogechi left Nneka's chambers, she felt a deep sense of dread. She knew that things were about to become even more complicated. The day of the wedding was almost upon them. The palace was filled with activity, and the villagers were eagerly anticipating the grand celebration. But amidst the preparations, there was an undercurrent of tension. Ikenna, Ogechi, and Ogechi made their final preparations for their escape. They packed only the essentials and prepared to leave as soon as night fell. They knew they had to move quickly and quietly to avoid being caught. As the sun set, the palace became quieter. Most of the villagers had returned to their homes, and only a few guards remained on duty. Ikenna and Ogechi met in the garden, where Ogechi was waiting for them. They were ready to leave everything behind and start a new life together. But as they were about to make their escape, they heard a voice behind them, going somewhere. It was Princess Nneka, and she was not alone. She had brought several guards with her, and they were blocking the only way out. Nneka's eyes were filled with anger and betrayal. "You thought you could just run away, that you could defy tradition and escape your duty," she spat. "You will marry me, Ikenna, and there is nothing you or this maid can do about it." Ikenna and Ogechi were trapped. Their plan had been discovered, and now they faced the wrath of a scorned princess and the full force of tradition. The future they had hoped for seemed to slip away before their very eyes.
And that's the end of this inspiring story. If you enjoyed this tale and the valuable lesson it teaches, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we post more educative and entertaining content. Your likes, comments, and shares with your family and friends are greatly appreciated. Thank you for being a part of our community, and we look forward to sharing more stories with you in the future. Remain blessed.